high-end hunting clubs. They're very wealthy people. They put tons of money into their management for deer and turkey. They don't mind spending it, and the bottom line is, the more you spend in that business, the better you get. But it takes a lot. Them guys have it. So I've been fortunate for the last several years to be able to trap that country basically for 4 different clubs. I've got about, all total, about 30,000 acres of ground. Now naturally, in 3.5 months, I can't cover it. There's no way. But I do try to get across it best I can. In the 3.5 months that I'm down there, I'm hired to do nothing but catch whatever, eat a turkey egg. And we all know that's everything. But your basic turkey egg eaters are going to be coons and possums. They're the ones that's going to attack your turkey nest. Of course, bobcats are hard on turkeys. Probably one of the hardest thing on turkeys is hoot owls and hawks after them lilies can get in the trees. But, you know, we can't do nothing about that. So they hire me to come in and basically I'm just an egg catcher, you know, just trying to save a nest. So my target is coons, possums, and skunks. Now, because of the way I trap, we'll get into that in a minute. I do catch, on the average, I'll catch 20 to 25 cats a year. I'll catch 100 beavers, 50 to 75 otters. And the reason I do that is because it's just a bonus for me. They're paying me to catch the egg eaters. Of course, we know they don't eat eggs, but I'm not going to pass that up. At the end of the season, that's a pretty good bonus. I'm not going to pass them up. So, saying all of that, I work on a bounty system. The more I catch, the more I make. The more I catch, the better work I'm doing for the club owner. So it's all about speed and numbers for me. I love to trap, growed up trapping, have always trapped. Hadn't been a winter went by since I was a little kid trapping squirrels and rabbits that I haven't trapped. But I'm telling you, it is a financial deal to me also. It is my paycheck in the winter. So I go at it hard, 90 to nothing. I was just thinking about old Briar right there, just done his a few minutes ago. I wish I could crawl back to 33 right now, you know. But anyway, I work on a bounty just to keep myself honest. I'm afraid if I did contract work, and there's nothing wrong with contract work, but I'm afraid on them rainy, cold days, contract work would make me sit at the house. If we're doing bounty work, I know if that trap's sitting there with something in it, I'm not making another nickel till I get it out. So I go hard. I basically, there's a lot of technicalities in trapping. If you're a straight cat trapper or a straight coyote trapper, you have to do a lot of technique things to really be successful. You don't have to be real successful, real technique to catch coons and possums. I mean, pretty easy. And as thick as they are right now, it's really easy. But there is some things that maybe I can share with you. Daniel yesterday done a demo with buckets on cats, and about everything he said, if you was here yesterday, you're going to hear again. There's just not a lot of secret to it. I primarily do run buckets because I can legally bait this. It's fast. The conibear, the 160 that goes in it, will kill my critter. It's laying there when I get there. It's my paycheck. That's what I want. I'm not happy till I get out a couple of hundred of these. Once again, I'm fortunate the places I work have good road systems in them because of their management. They have a lot of feeders. I'll put several around the feeders and I work the roads. I won't walk from here to that vehicle right there unless it's an exceptional set off of my ATV, because that takes time, and I'm all about time and numbers. It's time, speed, and numbers for me. I start a lot of days with a headlight and end the day with a headlight. So, I get this line of buckets out. The way I trap them is, remember this, anything in the woods that catches your eye will catch a critter's eye. That pile of brush, a hole in the bottom of a tree, an old rock down stump, the end of a log, anything you look at going through the woods, a coon, possum, or skunk, or a cat, more than likely going to look at it. With the logging that's done now across Arkansas, you have a lot of places that have a lot of good scent. Log ramps where they load, they generally leave a giant pile of logs. Boy, they're cat magnets. Aren't they, Mark? They're cat magnets. There's so much there for a cat to hunt in. He loves them, and there's tons of good scents in them. You know, cubby type scent. So anyway, like I was saying, the bucket is what I go with. I'm a commercial fisherman all the rest of the year, so I have access to all the fish I want. I put up a lot of my own bait. During the winter months when I'm not fishing so much, I've got access to a couple of fish markets where I can get all the bait I want. So bait's not a problem. I believe in fresh bait. Unless it's terribly cold, I'm going to change my bait pretty much every day. And if it is cold, I'm going to change it every 3 days anyway. I just believe you catch more with fresh bait than you do old bait. The best fish, in my opinion, to bait with is your regular old German carp. He's a bloody, real strong smelling fish. They just can't hardly walk past him. The next best is buffalo type fish. I use a lot of those. All of y'all know what these old jumping jacks are? Leave them in the water or on the bank. They're not very good trap bait. What's good about this bucket system and what I'm seeing in the last few years is you guys that are leasing your land, or you have 1 acre, 10 acres, 100 acres, or 1,000 acres. Game cameras have been the best thing that's happened in the management business, because you're tired of looking at your game camera and 25 coons under your deer feed. And I know every one of you have that problem. That's what you're tired of. So it's really, in the last few years, there's been a big jump in the I don't want to say novice trapper, because if you set a trap, you're a trapper, bottom line. But you may just be a weekend trapper because you have that 5-day-a-week job. But you're doing your best to get out there and try to get a few of them coons out from under your corn clear. I'm telling you, every coon or possum or skunk you take out of the woods, you're potentially saving not only a turkey nest, but a quail nest, a songbird nest. You know, if guys that spend a lot of time in the woods, you've noticed the songbird decline. We don't have the woodpecker, the old good gods, the stuff like that anymore, because of the predators getting their eggs. So, I applaud you guys for doing it, and the older trappers here, I'm not going to show you nothing new. But you guys that are getting out here on the weekends and your Christmas vacation trying to make a difference, man, I love you for it. I'm all about management, and I think if you have a half-acre of ground, you ought to try to do some sort of management on it. So, just maybe I can show you something, maybe I can't. I'm not going to take a bunch of your time. What's really good about these buckets, like I said, they're easy to deal with, and you can make them as legal as it is, and they're fast and quick when your animal is laying there. Also, if you want to introduce younger people into the trapping world, these youngsters didn't grow up in the world, a lot of us did, where we blood got up to their elbows. These guys now, you know, these younger people, they'll say ooh pretty quick, forget about it. When you walk it, you get them interested in this bucket set with the conibear. It's a fairly safe set if it's handled right. It's always on dry ground, so you have an animal caught there that don't have blood and guts all over him. He's good and dry. They can pick it up and feel of it, no problem. There's not a lot of sign of struggle, so it's easy to get young people involved in it. Keep that in mind. The bad thing about using buckets and conibears is be aware where you put them. Little dogs, house cats, He runs his head in there, he's done. That $200 squirrel dog, when you catch him, he's worth $10,000 in. So just be aware where you put them, you know. Be aware where you put them. You don't trap with them around houses and stuff because they're instant death. They're not like an old foothold where you can turn him loose and let him run. So when I see it, like I said, I'm not happy till I've got out at least a couple of hundred of them, and that's primarily my go-to trap. Last winter, in just a little over 3 months, I put my hands on a little over 4,200 iggies. That's basically all coons and possums. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But think about it. I'm running 200 sets a day. I'm running them hard. You know, I'm trying to average 40 to 50 a night. My best night this past winter was 101 critters in one night. That was right after a freeze. About 3 days after a hard freeze, and it warmed up and everything walked. Critters don't walk every night, but most nights they will. But things after freezes, a good rainy night is really good for you trapping. The worst night I had last year was 23, and I wasn't happy with it. So, set these buckets, like I said, there's no secret to it. Before I leave the house, I've got all my buckets ready. Just cut a notch in them. I don't measure nothing. I just eyeball it, cut a notch. I drill a hole in the bottoms, usually on both sides. This lets rainwater run out of them. I have all my conibears set and ready. I use wire for tie down. It's quick and it's easy. Most of the time, you don't have to worry about anything breaking your wire. So I'll come in here. Say I'm gonna put one right here. You always want to put them up on something. You don't want your animal to have to get down on his elbows to get his head in there. This is a small trap to start with. Saying that, there's not a bobcat in Arkansas that can't get his head in this. I'll tell you in a minute what helps there. But you want your bucket up in the air where you don't have to get on his knees to get his head in it. If you can't rake something up, reach over and grab a stick. Right there works just fine. The hole in there keeps the rainwater running out of it. What I do is chunk my bait, put my trap in it, chuck my bait in it. My go-to lure is shellfish oil, fish oil, or salmon oil. Salmon oil is $2 or $3 more a gallon than fish oil. Both of them are great. I prefer salmon oil more than I do fish oil. Commercial fishing, I have access to a lot of catfish fat. Any of you guys ever gutted catfish, you sometimes see that water fat. Let me tell you, that fat, an old trapper named Jackie Reed, some of y'all I know him. Jackie told me one time, he said, Kelly, you ought to be rendering out that catfish fat. I said, really? He said, man, it's great stuff. So I've started doing that. I got gallon jars in my fish house with a tiny lid, hole in the lid so the gas can come out. And those wads are pretty clean catfish fat I put in there. Fellas, that renders down to the prettiest oil you've ever laid eyes on, and it doesn't have a terrible smell. What makes it great is you can spray it right there tonight, get a 2-inch rain tonight, and in the morning, you'll see it beat it up on them leaves. It just won't wash away. This right here is what I use mostly. It's a shellfish, fish oil, shellfish, salmon oil mix. Most of your recipes call for about 2 to 3, maybe 4 ounces of shellfish oil to a gallon of fish oil or salmon oil or whatever oil you're using. Shellfish oil is really expensive. It usually runs over north of $100 a gallon. But let me tell you, all in all, it's probably the best nest raider lure you can use. It is strong, it has a long pulling power, coons love it, possums love it, skunks love it, cats love it, bobcats love it, otters like it. It's really good. So I believe in big baits, big smell. You got to get them to that trap. So instead of 3 or 4 ounces, I pour about a pint of shellfish oil to a gallon of fish oil or salmon oil. I want that big smell. I would use straight shellfish oil if it wasn't for the price. But I go through several gallons of winter, and I've got to look at that side of it too. So I've got my trap set, I've got my bait in it, I'm ready to walk off from it. And I'm not going to squirt this here because I don't want the next guy watering in it. But I'll just lay a trail. I'll shoot that out there from here to Jim.
Well, thank you for not doing it.
Well, I might just give you a shot anyway. If a coon's walking along behind that trailer right yonder, and especially if the wind's at him a little bit, he'll smell that come through. He'll look. He'll look in this box, he'll see that big bait. I'm a big bait believer. Runs his head in there, you got it. No problem.
Kelly, do you have trouble with stuff like mice and stuff stealing your bait?
I'm glad you said that. Another bait I go to is a dry bait. This is fish food and fruit loops. You got the smell, you got the sweet. And y'all want to smell that, you're more than welcome.
Is that just like a floating catfish food type?
Actually, you can buy what's called game fish food.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's a little more reasonable than regular old catfish food. It's still expensive, but a 50-pound sack of it will go a long way. So what I use this for is not only an attractor, but the mice and rats. You'd be surprised how thick in the woods, we call them cotton rats. You'd be surprised how thick they are in the woods. They'll get in them boxes, they'll pull your bait out, invariably going to throw your trap. You're done till you get it reset. I throw a handful of that down right there. I'm not only attracting a coon or a critter, but I'm keeping that mouse and rat busy out here away from my set. See? So this stays workable longer for what I'm really after. He's out here eating them Fruit Loops instead of eating my bait that's in my box. That's the biggest reason I use that.
So you don't throw it in your box?
I do.
Oh, you do.
At times I do, because at times I think it helps pull better than just straight fish. Yeah. And I do use a lot of it in my DPs, even though we'll just talk about them a minute. I'm not a big DP fan. My experience with them is, one area of the country you can wear them out in, the next area of the country you can't get a coon to take them. That's just my thoughts on it. I don't know why that is, but I just don't have a lot of luck. I do around each feeder, I'll set 2 or 3 DPs. Being because I'm trapping the Arkansas River, the lower Arkansas, I'm dealing with a lot of sand. These are the stakes that I use to stake them down with. I don't have to drive it near that deep, but I can drive it deep enough and still have enough to get a hoe to get it out. You know, most of the time without having to have a stake pull it. You know, but it's because of the sand that I'm that long. You know, I'm not a giant fan of DP. I do know they work. They just don't work that well for me. If you're trapping, especially you weekend boys and you Christmas vacation guys, you need a dozen of them. Put a dozen of them in your work. Any questions on the boxes? I mean, that's pretty plain and simple as it gets. Easy to understand.
Kelly, do you center the trap in the box or you push it the jaws down or right at the top or the bottom or what?
Most of the time, because of the numbers I'm putting out, I don't spend a lot of time. Most of the time, my triggers are from the top down, usually right in the middle, just like this.
Well, I'm talking about the trap itself. Do you push the jaws on the spring up or down?
Most of the time up. I've seen where it made no
You
difference.
want the trap low in the box.
I see where it makes no difference. Now, on cats, if you're in an area that you think you could catch a cat, a couple of little things you can do with these traps. They're small. Now, like I said, that's a small trap. But any cat in this state can get his head in there. the good thing about that is a cat will choke down in a heartbeat. So if you get him, he's done. I mean, he's done. He'll run out of air real quick. To help your cat catch with this setup, a lot of times I'll break one trigger off where I've only got one wire. It only takes one to throw it. I'll break one wire off. Just do away with it. It still works good for my coons and my possums. It improves the cat catch because a cat, the tenderest place on him beside the bottom of his feet is his nose. He don't like to run his nose up against something. You know, so if you can catch him on the side, it's a whole lot better. Another thing you can do is you can bend these back into your bucket. Bend them in as far as you can get them. Now this is if you know you're in cat. Bend this as far in as you can get it to where it'll still sit. This gives that cat's head going into that box, going across the top of his head. He'll more freely put his head in there. A couple of things you can do. I will tell you this, and there may be some disagreement on it, but I've been doing this for many, many years. Wooden boxes will out-catch plastic every day of the week, especially on cats. I don't know why that is, if it's more natural to them or what the case is, but if a cat come through here tonight and these two traps was set here, he'd hit this wood before he'd hit that plastic. It doesn't seem to make a difference on nest raiders, coons and possums and things, but on cats it definitely does. So just keep that in mind. If I was the weekend trapper, the vacation trapper, even though those are easy to get, they run anywhere from $2 to $4 a piece. There's probably some dealers here today that have them. I'd build wood. You'll just do better with them. They're just, you know, for me, trying to get out 200 plus of them, they're just a little too much to deal with.
What about screen in the end instead of a closed end?
Screen?
So he can see straight through. Is that better than a closed end?
Brother, I've got boxes made like that. It could make a difference on your cats, but here's what happens with that. That cat will work that box if he can see through both ends. And he may give up on you before he decides to take that bait. So I don't like the screened in, open end.
So it just lets him view from both ends.
Yeah, it lets him view for both ends. And a cat, I've always thought he was pretty quick to make his mind up. You know, he sees a bird fluttering over there, he may go for it, but that bird quit fluttering. I think he's pretty quick to decide I'm going on. Now, you cat trappers, do you feel that way maybe at times? You know, I don't know, but I want him to work the end of my trapping. If that, you know, answers that question. I'm just not a fan of both ends being open. Any questions on these boxes? Okay. There's times in places you trap that you absolutely have to go through the water to get your coons. There's going to be periods of the winter that coons are going to work the water. You've got to get in the water to really put up the numbers. I think through all the years of trapping, the best water coon trap made is the number 11, especially the little double jaw number 11. That little trap sits good. It's got enough power to hold a grizzly bear if you get him. It'll hold every coon. They're not bad to twist out or chew out of these. That's what makes them so great. That's my opinion, but I think if you're going to water trap coons, don't stop till you buy number 11s, and preferably the double jaw number 11s. Remember what I said about trapping like you did when you was a kid? Everything you see that catches your eye catches there. So I set a lot of dry land sets also, although I don't like to take a lot of time doing it. And I'm not going to take a lot of time down there bedding this trap and covering it and all of that stuff. I'm going to throw just enough over it to hide it. I'm not too worried about all that movement. Don't bother me much. I don't catch enough coyotes to say eat it because the trap's too dirty for it. And cows aren't my money. Egg eaters are my money. Most of the time, I'll stick this trap to the bottom of the tree. I'll get as close to the chain as I can, the trap with the chain and a staple, as I can still make the set. That gives that critter less jumping power. This is a MB 550. Now, I know you older guys are saying, my God, that's overkill. Okay, let me explain that overkill. You make a dry land set with a steel trap, you've got an animal that you cannot drown, that you cannot kill. He's in a constant struggle. Most of the time, a regular steel trap, you notice these are offset jaws. You broke a leg pretty quick, that coon's gone. Chewed out a pull, he's gone. This big trap, all set. Okay, that's one plus, I'm not breaking many bones. Now you're thinking, well, he'll pull out of it. Okay, here's the deal to that. This trap is so big, I'm catching this critter up here. I'm getting him high on the leg. That prevents a lot of that chew out, pull out stuff. He'll chew them toes off, but he won't hardly chew his shoulders off. That's why I use these. I run across a good deal years ago, bought a pile of them, and I use them every winter. I use them, if there's a hole right here, I'm gonna set it, because every egg eater, coon, possum, skunk that comes through the country is gonna run his head in that hole, or look at it. I'm gonna have this trap waiting on him. Just a little bit off center, because remember, he's walking into it. You know, just like the boy said yesterday about the cats. Just a little bit off center. In those sets, I try to, you know, the country I'm in down there is all about duck hunting, so there's a lot of duck pickers, a lot of duck hunters. I can get breasted out, you know, ducks, no problem. Now, it's against the law for me to tear a bunch of them feathers off here in front of this set. But if I think I'm in cats, and most of the time I'm going to use a duck in this situation anyway, a hole in the end of a log, a cubby in a brush pile, a hole in the bottom of a tree. If I could stuff a duck up in it, that's what I'm going to do, because every bobcat that comes through there also is going to look at that hole. You stick that duck in there, a bobcat eats way more feathers than he does scale. You stick that duck in there, pull whatever your favorite bobcat lure is. There's a million lure makers. They're all good lures. Lures basically are all made the same. It's just whatever you like, what you've had luck with. I've got my favorite. Everybody that traps here has got their favorite. But basically, the ingredients are pretty much the same. Put you a little lure there. I don't take time with the hanging stuff, even though that would help, no doubt. It just takes too much time for me. Cat comes by, I've got a trap big enough to hold. With that night catch on them, they're just an excellent trap. You know, they come all the way down to their absolutely tuned for that lightest touch on that paint. That's why I use the big traps. But the real reason is like I said, because of the coons and possums, I don't lose them in the struggle because I've caught them so high.
And you'll generally try to nail them as use fence tape, but short chain them as much as you can.
To still make the set, Bo. You need to come out 7 or 8 inches, you know, from your set, because they're going to ease up there. I mean, you don't want them to have to pity patty right up to the edge, because they're going to reach as far as they can with their nose, you know. One of the things you can do, being, you know, back in the day when we was kids growing up, a lot of us, when we made a coon set, we stumped out a hole right there. I'm talking about water setting. When I'm water setting around a lake, a slough, a river, whatever the case is, water. We'd stomp out a hole, set a 1.5 right there, nail a duck wing or a duck head or a piece of fish on the side of this tree, nail our trap to it. We'd put something like that right there, you know, just to guide him into it a little bit. We had him. That's the way with coon traps. Now you can't have exposed bait. The fish oil, the lure, is not exposed bait. It's legal. it's still good to have some kind of a sight attractive. Coons are as curious as it gets when they're hunting. You've already got him coming to it because he smells that lure. You need to try to give him something to see. You also got to be aware of damage to the property owner's trees. They log his timber years from now, they don't want it. Find out they've got nails and staples drove to it.
You can say Staples, you know what you're talking about.
Staples, we know. So, piece of tin foil and a thumbtack. That's all you need. I've got an orange one here because that's all my son Eli had in his deer bag. But that's all you need. That's enough right there with the fish oil and the and your mixture, your oil mixture, your lure, to pull him in there. If you don't want to use tin foil, you can use a piece of red ribbon. Works great. Coon won't pass it up. Like I said before, I'm all about numbers because that's how I make my money. If I'm trapping coons in the water, I said 3 for 1. I'm setting 3 traps for 1 coon. If I was going to set this right here tonight, I'd have a trap at that tree, I'd have a trap at this tree, I'd have a trap at this tree. These trees are laid perfect for them. That's the way I'd have them see it. I'd go right down there 100 yards, maybe 75, 100 yards. I'd do the same thing again. 3 sets. Takes a lot of traps, but you can have 80 sets, you know, pretty easy. You got 3 traps to each set. Most of the time you're going to have that 1 coon. A lot of times you're going to have 2 coons. A lot of times you'll have 3. So your 3 sets have paid off for you. But that's just the way I've always trapped. 3 for 1. I barrel net fish the same way. I put a barrel net right here, I'm putting 2 more. That's just the way I operate. Any questions on anything so far? I mean, there's no science to egg eater trapping. You know, there's people that'll tell you that the best time to trap coons and egg eaters like that is when turkey hens are on the nest.
Do you wire your conibears to your buckets or to something?
No, I usually just try to sit next to a limb or a drag or a sapling.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, you don't have to worry a whole lot about it because this is a killer trap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the time your animal's going to be dead in a minute, I would say, or less. So that jerking and pulling. The one time you will have an issue is otters. For whatever reason, I have caught otters in these buckets, you know, a half a mile from any water. I guess they just going across the country. Otters are a real curious animal. If he goes by that bucket, and especially smells that shellfish oil, he's going to poke his head in there. And an otter is a violent animal when he gets caught. I mean, for a few minutes, he's tearing up Jack. I don't care what you got him caught in. He's very violent. He's very strong. So there may be a case of, you know, breaking your wire there. I actually use a little heavier wire than this. That's just what was on this trap. That's your choice. If you're not worried about otters, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd buy the lightest wire I could find, and these dealers have it. I've seen several rows of it because you can work with it so fast and so easy. You know, you'll get about 3 years out of that wire before you need to replace it. You know, if you take care of your traps. The one thing you absolutely do have to have is a set of setters. These are Sleepy Creek brand. I don't know if Sleepy Creek is still in business or not, but I know you can still get these setters. I don't know who bought them, but these dealers here have them. These are the best setters I know of. Now, you get up to your 330s, these setters are a little too light for that. But anything under 330, these setters are fast, easy, they're light, they'll last till you absolutely just wear them out. And I have worn them so thin here that they broke, you know. But chances are most of you will never wear out a pair. Another very essential tool you need, whether you set 1 trap or 1,000, is a sod buster hammer. This is the most universal tool you'll have in your pack. All these dealers have got one. I'm telling you right now, if you're gonna trap any this winter, or you're already trapping and you don't own this, walk right over here to one of these guys and buy one. You'll never regret it. This hammer is just a do-all thing. You can absolutely get in the toughest conditions, make your foothold. You know, if you need to cut something, you whack it enough, you can cut it. You've got a good head there that's heavy enough to drive your stakes, drive your staples, whatever you need to drive. You've got it all right there. Push comes to shove, it's heavy enough to take care of business. Don't stop till you own one of these.
Kelly, you using you 550 mainly on dry ground and the 11 in the water?
I use the 550s mainly on dry ground because of the struggle thing. Naturally, you have struggle in water also, unless you're deep enough to make drowning seal. Most of my trapping is in water that's ankle deep or less, not deep enough to drown anything. But once again, I'm using what I think is the best trap for that situation, is the number 11. You just don't seem to have as many chew outs and pull outs with this little trap as you would a 1.5 pull spring or a 1.5 long spring or 1.5 on up anything. You know, I have used, I've got a pretty good pile of old Victor number 2s, and I've got a pretty good pile of old Northwoods 1 3/4. The big square jaw things. They catch pretty high. The problem of it is they're so dadgum strong, they're gonna break a leg, you know. So I just think water trapping, that's it. That's my own opinion. I think that's it. And I think the double jaw really adds to that factor.
A while ago, you started to talk about the timing of nest predators.
Right.
When
Most of your biologists will tell you the best time to trap for nest predators is when they're nesting. Now, there probably is some good science to that. The trouble of it is, you're talking about April, May, tough times to trap. Down in our part of my part of the country, the fire ants are just ridiculous, horrible. Your bait's gonna immediately be covered with fire ants. That makes it useless. The snakes are bad. I mean, the chiggers, the ticks. It's just, trapping season is in the wintertime for a reason. Now, saying all of that, you catch that coon in December. That's the same coon that could be eating that nest in May. So you still took him out, brother. He just ain't got to that nest. Turkey hens, for whatever reason, do not nest hardly ever. I'm not going to say never, because never's a long time. But they don't go out there in the middle of all that right there to set a nest. They don't go out in the thickets to set nests. That turkey hen's going to get right here and set her nest. She's going to get right on the edges of your food plots, old logging roads. They're going to get right out here in the open. You think about the turkey nests you've seen, if you've ever found many, they were out in the open. They don't get up in that thick stuff to nest. They get out here where everything in the world can catch them. How they can sit on the nest for almost 30 days and survive is a mystery, and that's why our turkey population is so bad and our coon population is so thick. A turkey hen just don't hardly have a chance. You know, thank God most of them will nest twice if she don't get killed on the nest, you know. That's another thing about trapping too. The way I trap, like I said, it's all about speed numbers, so I'm staying on the road. Most of your critters, your egg eaters, even though you will see those trails coming out of this, think about it, guys. Most of the time, that trail is coming out to an old logging road, coming out to a food plot. You know, critters, just like you deer hunters know, like to work the edges. That's where they feed the best. That's where they can catch their feed. They like the edges. So do your trapping on the edges. Logging roads, nothing but a big trail. Big trail. How many times have you looked in them muddy ruts in them logging roads and couldn't tell which way the last coon went there so many tracks? That's because that's just a big trail. Easy access, easy moving, easy feeding. Keep that in mind with your trapping. You don't have to wade You don't have to wade down yonder to them trees to catch him. Not saying you won't catch one there, but you don't have to do that. You can come right out here and catch him on this edge. Anything else? I'm not a technical trapper, like I said. It's pretty much plain Jane. Get all you can get.
Mighty good.
Jim?
Well done, buddy.
All right. I guess that's
Good.
all I
Thank
can tell
you,
you. Let me tell you guys this. You guys that are working full-time jobs and trying to manage your land. Back when I was growing up, competition was fierce. Most of us was limited to nothing but public ground. We had a lot of public ground to trap. Fur was worth chasing. People that were making their living with the fur, they kept it all under their cap. It was no information shared. It was fierce competition. Now, those of us that are still able to get out here and actually make our paycheck with our trap, most of us are on private land. We've got our land sold up. Not bragging, but not really worried about losing it. So I applaud you guys that are trying to get out here and do something on your own property. I love you for it. I wish more of you would do it. Recruit as many of your friends to do this, because there's power in groups. The trapping society groups have steadily went down. We don't have a lot of say in things. The bigger we get, the more they got to deal with it. The bigger voice we'll have. So you guys get out there and get with it. You know, you don't have to trap a bunch of traps. Go over here to one of these guys, buy you 2 dozen or whatever you feel comfortable with, and work it. And you'll be surprised at what you do. Thank y'all.
Thank you.